Came out here, and I remember we were on our way down to Mel's home, which was down in Carter County, way down in South Missouri.
Former Senator Jean Carnahan is speaking to a group at a local Borders bookstore.
Exactly right.
She's talking about her life, which she's chronicled in her recent autobiography, Don't Let the Fire Go Out. In this book, Senator Carnahan reflects on her life growing up in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C. as a young, curious student, and how she first met the love of her life when she was just 15 years old.
I spent the first 20 years of my life in Washington. And in fact, I met Mel when we were both 15. He had just come to Washington because his father had been elected to Congress from Missouri. And so we met in a church youth group one Sunday night. The next day, I was in school with him, and we were sitting side by side. And of course, my name was Carpenter, and his was Carnahan, so we were side by side in every class, alphabetically. Went to college at George Washington University. We were side by side in every class. So I keep thinking that, maybe fate kept bringing us together.
Gene Carpenter married Mel Carnahan in 1954, and Mel moved his young family back to his home state of Missouri. After spending some time in Columbia, the Carnahans settled in Rolla.
And lived here ever after, and so this has been our home. And I like these rural roots. It was great for raising a family.
The Carnahans lived a fairy tale life for some time. Jean supported her husband's quest for political office, writing for his campaigns while raising their 4 children.
We couldn't always afford a campaign office or employees to work in the campaign, so I would just clear off the dining room table and bring in a typewriter and a file cabinet, and we'd just set up an office there at home. And I did that a lot, and I recall the first time we got a genuine staff where we had a lot of people doing different things, and I called up the office one day, and we had a receptionist there. And I said, hello, this is Jean. And she said, Jean who? And I thought, oh, we have come such a long way.
But her book also addresses the darkest time of her life and the tragic event that led to her return to Washington, this time as a United States Senator. So how many acres is this?
Well, it's about between 800 and 900. So it's...
That's a lot of grass to mow.
That's why you have cats.
I spent the afternoon with her at the Carnahans' family farm in Rolla, and the senator gave me a closer look into her life. You just wrote your book. Why now? Why did you decide to write the book?
Well, I felt like there were so many things that had not been told about what happened in the year 2000, how I felt and what my family meant to me, what my faith meant to me during those times. And so I just wanted to put that down. There was just a lot to be told.
She, of course, is referring to the deaths of her husband, Missouri Governor Mel Carnahan, her oldest son, Randy, and friend, Chris Sifford. All died in a plane crash 3 weeks before the November elections in 2000. At the time, her husband was running for the United States Senate. Well, you wrote in your book that life is not the way it's supposed to be. And I guess that was never more true than October 4 years ago. When you first heard that their plane was lost, did you immediately know that they were gone, or did you think that there was hope?
No, I never thought that there was hope. And I heard that that the plane went down, and that my son and husband and our friend was on there. I never thought that they would survive. It was a terrible time in my life. I don't know of any other time that could compare to it. But it was during that time that I found out that there's a courage that can well up from within you and bubble over and give you strength and that you didn't know you had.
When you realized that there might be a chance that he would still be elected even after he was gone, what did you think?
Well, at first I thought there was no way that could happen. And yet I had to try. I had to see if people really felt strongly enough about that. And so I was willing to have my name put up on the ballot.
When you were contemplating and asked to accept your husband's seat, was that an easy decision to make? Was that something that you felt you had to do, something you wanted to do, something you thought other people wanted you to do?
Well, sometimes all of those at one point or another. But I had looked within myself as to what I really wanted to do and really what I thought Mel would want me to do under those circumstances. And I knew that he would not want me or any of the family to give up the things that we believed in so firmly and just to walk away. And so I knew that I had to carry on and do the things that we had both fought for so long. And that's what I did. I determined that if the people would elect him, I would serve.
And that's exactly what happened. Weeks after his death, in an unprecedented election, Mel Carnahan was elected to the United States Senate.
But it was you who actually went to the Senate.
That's right, and I was very much aware of that as I stood there being sworn in that day with my children surrounding me and Al Gore, who was the outgoing vice president. I was very aware that there were other spouses up in the balcony looking down, and that was the location I had intended to be watching Mel be sworn in. So it was a bittersweet moment.
When you took that seat in the Senate, you had so many people who were supporting Mel, supporting you, all over, you know, wanting you to succeed. But at the same time, there were people who were waiting for you to not succeed. And you were the grieving widow, the grieving mother, and now you were a United States Senator. I mean, you had to have dug deep. How did you do that? Where did you find your strength for that?
Well, I remember the first time I was interviewed. People were very kind to me, and finally someone said, do you really think that you have what it takes to be United States Senator? And I guess that just hit me the wrong way. And I said, you know, people underestimated my husband all of his life, and I suggest that you not do that with me. And I could see that everyone's eyes popped, and I had just discovered the strength of the 7-second sound bite.
But it kind of was a fair question.
It was, yes.
With that said, Senator Carnahan went to work, learning her way around the Capitol and government.
What were those first days like? You know, you think of like the first day of going to the first grade.
Well,
and
yes, there's a lot of similarity there. You know, everyone else knows the way to the cafeteria and their combination on the locker.
You did say in your book that the others, there were winners with high expectations, and you were a widow for whom there was low expectations. That's a lot of pressure.
Yes, that is.
But with pressure came friendship and support. One of her many supporters, Senator Ted Kennedy, gave her a copy of his brother's book, Profiles in Courage, and he inscribed to Jean, to a profile in courage in her own right.
Did the legislative process, did it surprise you? Did it disappoint you? Did it impress you?
All of those. Actually, at some time or another, I had hoped that there would be more harmony among the members, because I had heard that many years ago that was the case, that you could make compromises. You could have friends on the other side of the aisle. You worked together. Tom Eagleton, our former senator, spoke of such times. But that was not the way it was. There was not that camaraderie that you one time could have.
Despite political discord, Carnahan believed in the system and was looking forward to continue fighting for what she and her husband believed in. But just months after becoming a senator, the house she shared with her husband was struck by lightning and burned to the ground. And just 2 days after that, the United States experienced the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Carnahan immediately returned to Washington, referring to her personal devastation as inconsequential. And to add to her chaos, Carnahan only had 2 years before her term expired.
So not only did I have the job to learn, and spent a lot of time on that, I immediately had to start up with a campaign that was going to occur over the next 2 years. So I realized I had to work in double time, so to speak. But that was just part of being there, and I realized that I couldn't complain about it. It was just part of the way the process was going to be for me.
When you went for re-election, that was basically your first campaign for yourself. You had gone through so many with Mel, but this was the first campaign for yourself.
That's right.
Did you feel like it was yours, that you deserved it?
Oh, very definitely. I put my best in it. I got out and campaigned all over the state and raised the money that I needed to do to put on a campaign. But at the same time, I had to be in Washington. That was a very important time in our nation's history. And so I had kind of a choice there. I could do a Rose Garden strategy and not come back, or I could come back here and miss votes. But I decided that I would stay there and I would get every vote I could. Voted to support Homeland Defense, and I was among those who did that.
In a close race, Carnahan lost the Senate seat to Republican Jim Talent.
I was severely disappointed because I had so much wanted to serve out the term. I wanted very much to do that and had worked very, very hard to do that.
Were you just getting started with what you wanted
exactly.
to do?
Exactly. I had been running on 2 tracks up till then, and I was kind of looking forward to just running on one and thought I could do a good job on that. And I had some really good committee assignments. And so I was looking forward to some of the committee work, especially on the Armed Services Committee. But it didn't turn out the way I expected it to. Life takes all kinds of twists and turns, and you just have to be ready for those.
Who was the other one that...
Carnahan has spent the last 2 years writing her book, rebuilding her home in Rolla, and assisting in her children's political campaigns. Her son Russ has just been elected to Congress, and her daughter Robin is Missouri's new Secretary of State. And when asked about her own future in politics...
Well, you know, in politics you never say never. Politics is really about, it's about improving people's lives. And there's all kinds of opportunity to do that. It's not just the perks and the privilege and power that you get in holding public office. It has to do about improving people's lives. And you can find opportunities to do that in your communities, in public office, and just a number of places.